All right, let's swim on over to our on-the-spot correspondents, Gabe and Mac, who are reviewing The Whale.
Hey everybody, I'm Mac.
And I'm Gabe.
And today we're going to be reviewing The Whale.
So, before we dive into a review of The Whale, I feel like it's important to give a trigger warning for this movie. It contains some pretty heavy themes about, food abuse, and there's some stuff that, before you watch this, you should probably look up what's in the movie to determine if it's going to be healthy for you to watch. But for anyone who doesn't know, The Whale is Darren Aronofsky's film about a man named Charlie, who, after the loss of his partner, has begun to cope with some really unhealthy habits. The Whale is many things. It's extremely sad. It's a family movie. It's also just a character piece.
One of the things that I found interesting about this movie, if I may just jump right
into
it.
Yeah, no, go ahead, buddy.
Charlie's a very complex character, and he's a very tragic character, but there's moments where you can laugh at a lot of things he says. He's so human. Yeah. And the thing that struck me about this character is that while he's struggling through these horrible things, he still has there's still this slight slimmer of hope that he has.
Yeah.
You know?
I would say that there's definitely some dark-ish humor in this.
Yeah.
When he tells his keeper that he's like, yeah, I'm gonna die soon, and she looks at him with shock, and he's like, well, at least I know it. Mm-hmm. And it's a way funnier scene than it should be.
Exactly.
And so I think that really stems from probably the part of this movie that everyone's talking about. Mm-hmm. Brendan Fraser. I have been a huge Brendan Fraser fan for a long time.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Shout out to my friend Tucker Sennett. He'll tell you I've been leading the fight for the Renaissance since day one. He is finally Oscar nominated for Best Actor.
Yeah.
I think he's going to win it. I don't know, as long as it's not Austin Butler. That's all I care about.
He's the clear front runner, I think.
He does an amazing job. Mm-hmm. So what is it about his performance in this that really stands out to you?
Well, like I said, it's just so raw and so human, and he genuinely goes into these dark places that I've never really seen another actor dive so far into before, and I believe that he's this character. Mm-hmm. There's no he doesn't there's plenty of actors that I don't think could properly portray this right.
Yeah.
Whereas Brendan Fraser just he's so vulnerable and so human as Charlie. I don't think I've ever seen a movie where I've wanted to cry and wanted to laugh while watching the same thing before.
I think Brendan Fraser, the trauma that he's gone through in Hollywood is very well known.
Yes.
And so I think in many ways this film kind of became immersion therapy. We know that a lot of what Brendan Fraser, his character is going through, he has personally experienced. And I think that makes it even more, as you described it, raw. There's some jagged edges to this movie.
Yeah.
One of the bright shining stars is Sadie Sink, who plays Ellie, his daughter. Mm-hmm. What did you think of her performance in this?
What was interesting about hers is I expected a lot more character development with hers, and that doesn't occur till the very end, the very climax of the movie. I'm not going to give it away.
Sure.
But her final scene is just so emotional, and you can finally see that Charlie's message that he's been trying to pass on her is finally starting to get to her. And she comes off as heartless and cruel, where even her own mother in the film makes her out to be that, says that she is a horrible person. Yeah. But Charlie never gives up hope, and we get to see to the end that she's right about that. And I feel like Sadie Sink sometimes is typecast as the kind of uptight, angsty teen.
What she played in Stranger Things, essentially.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And in her new movie Dear Zoe.
Yeah.
Right? But she takes it to a whole new level in this one, and she kind of stays true to that. And I was worried. I was expecting her not to learn the lesson that Charlie was trying to impose on her, but she finally gets it towards the very end. So I was happy about that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool how he is this character who has looked back at his life and knows that he's made mistakes, and he is trying his very best to teach his daughter.
Exactly.
However, because he left her, she feels like he's given up any right to try and help her with anything. And so it's this really interesting tale of family dynamics, because in one stance, he's completely in the right because he's her father and he loves her.
Yeah.
But the other hand, I can speak from my own past. I know that pain of hey, you don't really get a say what I'm going to do. That's not up to you. And so I think for a lot of people, this is a very relatable film. There's some heavy things in it. And so I think that brings me around to one of the questions I wanted to ask you, which is
Absolutely.
a lot of people, myself included, have had like very visceral emotional reactions to this film
Yeah.
because it is such a heavy film. What do you think it is that causes that?
Well, I'll answer that, but like this movie kind of made me think in the same way of like Manchester by the Sea. Was
Yeah.
like it's the realism is
Yeah.
that I think that is that answer. Like a lot of these movies, they kind of have this like false idea that like it's all going to be better by the end of the day, and you know there's like a definite conclusion to everything. That's not the real world, and I feel like movies like this kind of capture that idea. That's what makes this movie stand out, I think. Like not everything needs to work out, and that's okay, and that's what makes this movie so profound, I think.
Yeah,
You know?
there's that popular expression, life's a bitch,
Exactly.
and then you die.
Yeah.
And like, but it's what you do in the middle that matters, and I think that's what this film does so excellently.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things that people are saying, you know, the big criticism levied against this is that the cinematography is very blasé, and the score.
I actually love the cinematography
Yeah,
for
so
this.
here's what I believe personally. I think they are made in a way such as to not be a distraction. They blend into the background. You don't notice them because they're not overly flashy. And I think that works really well because it lets Brendan Fraser's performance shine.
Another thing, like if I want to point out quickly,
Yeah, go ahead.
It almost makes you feel trapped.
Yeah.
Like it's not a full frame.
Yep.
You know, and it only takes place in Charlie's apartment. You know, he's confined there. It just
Yep.
kind of makes you feel like this feeling that like, you know, like if it makes sense, you're kind of trying. The film's trying to make you feel as if you're with
Yeah.
him there. You know.
I think
And
that's really
the
good.
cinematography contributes to that.
Awesome. So, scale from 1 to 10, what would you give this movie?
I'm gonna give it an 8. You know,
Okay.
Wonderful performances, great cinematography, and something we haven't pointed out yet: makeup and hairstyling. Also
Yeah.
nominated for an Academy Award. It's really awesome in this movie.
I am going to give it a perfect 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think this movie is one that if people can handle watching, with that very obvious caveat, because not everyone should.
Yeah.
If people can handle watching it, I think they should because I think it's very important, it's beautiful, and it's extremely emotional in all the best ways. And with that, we're going to go back to the studio.